The Extrude command is one of the most basic and commonly utilized tools when creating three-dimensional features. It takes an existing sketch or face and adds depth by projecting or extruding it out linearly in order to create 3D geometry. By the end of this lesson, you'll be able to create an incredibly wide variety of three-dimensional models by using only the Extrude command. Here I have a few sketches that will ultimately make up a bracket for a suspension system on a mountain bike. As a new CAD user, this might look confusing or intimidating, and it might leave you asking, where do I begin? I assure you, the process to completing this feature is actually quite simple. I'll start by activating the Extrude command. It can be accessed from the Create panel along the top, by right-clicking in the canvas, expanding the Create Flyout menu, or by simply typing E on the keyboard, which brings up the Extrude dialog box. Here, you can see many categories and drop-downs for customizing the final geometry. The first step is to select all the sketch profiles that will be extruded. There are a number of profiles available here. For this part, I'll select the 3 outer circles and the main body connecting them. These 4 sketch profiles could have been easily sketched as one profile, but the sketch was drawn this way so that the individual sketch profiles could be used to create additional 3D features later on. With the sketch profile selected, I'll next set the extrusion direction. The direction dropdown allows you to extrude to one side of the sketch, both sides of the sketch with independent distances, or symmetrically about both sides of the sketch. For this first extrusion, I'll set the direction to to-side. Next, I'll specify the operation for the extrude. Under the dropdown, you can see I have the option to set it to join, cut, intersect, create a new body, or create a new component. The join option allows you to create a new extruded body or join 2 or more extruded bodies together. The cut option is opposite to join. It allows you to cut material away instead of adding material. Intersect will keep the geometry of the extrusion and other intersecting bodies and remove the remaining geometry. Both new body and new component are very similar, but there is one distinct difference between the two. New body creates the extrusion as an independent body within the model, regardless if it intersects or joins geometry together. This is one way multi-body models are created in Fusion 360. In addition, new component will create the geometry as its own component with the body of the geometry within it. For a better understanding of the difference between the two, there is a later lesson that covers their functionality. For this part, I'll leave the option set to join and move on. Finally, Extents allows you to set the height, width, or thickness of the extrusion. With the option set to distance, you are defining how far the command extends by a fixed amount. You can either drag the arrow in the canvas, or you can enter a numerical value. When the option is set to 2, you have the ability to extrude profiles up to an existing face, surface, or vertex. Lastly, you have the option of All. This gives you the ability to extrude the sketch profile through the entirety of the existing model. For this extrude, I'll set the extents to 2 and select the endpoints of the lines, which will cause the extrusion to stop once it reaches that geometry, and click OK to finish the command. To finish the part, I'll create one more extrude, this time a vertical cut through the part. I'll type E on the keyboard to pull up the Extrude dialog box. For the profile, I'll select the rectangle under the part and set the operation to cut. This cut is supposed to go through the entire part, so I could drag the arrow until it cuts all the way through. This method works, but it isn't the best design intent. There is a smarter way it can be done. Instead, I can set the Extents option to All, which will make sure that the cut goes through the entire part, even if changes are made to the original geometry. I'll click OK, and the cut is complete, and I've created the geometry I was looking for. When it's all done, the rocker fits nicely into the mountain bike assembly.